I don't care what Google's AI tells you. Do not put glue on pizza. Coming up on Today in Tech, we're going to discuss why Google's AI and search plan has people going crazy, why people are having a meh reaction to AI tools, and whether technology is making us more lonely at work. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. The guy behind the monitors is Chris. Hello, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well. And filling in as a guest co-host on this week's show is our longtime pal, Jack Gold, chief analyst at Jay Gold Associates. Hello, Jack. Welcome back.
Thank you. Great to be here.
I love that you're wearing Celtics green. We are located in Boston. We are in NBA Celtics fever at the moment. So apologies if you root for another team, but because we're from Boston, we don't really care. All right. So what the hell is going on with Google, Jack? What? So do you want me to start, or so this? If you haven't heard by now, the AI overviews that Google announced, it made international headlines, but not for the reasons the companies was hoping for across the internet. Well, this is Threads, Blue Sky, X. People were encountering the company's AI-generated summaries of top search results found over and over again that basically Google was hallucinating or worse. The most famous one is this suggestion that someone put non-toxic glue on your pizza to help the cheese to not stick. And people were trying to figure out, why would they do this? And it turns out that Google was using something from Reddit, from a post on Reddit, from 6 or 7 years ago. There's a whole other list of different things that were going on here with some of the funnier ones was it claimed that former U.S. President James Madison graduated from the University of Wisconsin not once but 21 times, that a dog has played in the NBA, NFL, and NHL, and that Batman is a cop. Now, I looked up the whole Batman is a cop thing, and it turns out that was from, I think, a Reddit post or some thread where people were discussing whether Batman is a vigilante or a cop. And it came, and the algorithm said, well, we found this post, and, in issue 424 of the original Silver Age Batman, yes, he was. But not the general sense is that Batman is not a cop. And it's almost become like this nerdy thread, and they picked it up, and Google's AI now thinks that Batman is a cop.
Well, I'm a little thrown off of this suggestion to eat 1 to 3 rocks per day. Yeah, I don't know about that.
And that came from The Onion, which again, AI is not picking up what sarcasm is or what satire or parody is. And so, obviously these hallucinations are bad, and Google's trying to defend itself by saying, well, these are outlying questions, and these are not the general questions that people will be asking, but it does lead to that bigger question. Can you trust anything that this Google AI is going to be telling you? Jack, any thoughts?
Yeah, and it's not just Google; it's everybody, right? Look, the old saying "garbage in, garbage out" applies here.
Yeah,
it's clearly they're training. Google is training their AI model based on just stuff on the internet, and I can find all kinds of stuff on the internet that's total garbage, right? By the way, we all know that instead of using Elmer's glue for pizza cheese, you should be using instant glue. It works much better, right?
Well, it has to be. So it has to be non-toxic. At least they've mentioned that the glue is non-toxic. But again, this is also the generation behind me was famously known for doing the Tide Pod challenge, where the people that make Tide, Procter & Gamble, had to put not only child locks on these containers, but all over the place they've got warning labels that say, do not eat this stuff. And it's common sense just got flown out the window. So I can only imagine now if people are going to be, trying to, Google something and it comes up with bad advice or wrong advice. This is the outliers. Again, the funny stories, but how accurate is every answer going to be? If you should be able to trust your search engine is what I'm saying.
Well, but could we trust it even before AI?
There was
a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, there was a feeling you could trust it.
Well, you did a search and they throw up 1 million pages. Right. But the first, 2, 3, 4 pages probably had nothing to do with what you were searching for, had more to do with who was paying Google to have ads.
Right.
So we shouldn't be surprised by this. That's number one. Number two is AI is still very young. Everyone thinks AI is this mature capability that we should be relying on, and it's not. In certain cases, it works really well. So, for instance, if I'm a radiologist and I want AI to help me look at X-rays, it can look at hundreds of X-rays in the time I could look at 3.
Right.
And will point out what they think are problems. Now, then I have to go back and make sure that's true as a backup. But still, it's an assisted intelligence. I call AI assisted intelligence, not artificial intelligence,
okay.
Because at this point, it's really about having an assistant help me do things that I couldn't do before. And by the way, this is not just Google's problem. This is anybody that wants to do a search engine. This is anybody that's trying to do stuff based on unreliable data or unfiltered data, because Google is just sucking in everything on the internet. It's perhaps less of an issue if you're an enterprise. You've got, let's say you're a bank and you've got financial records. At least they should be verified, right? They know if I paid my mortgage last month on time.
Right.
But boy, if you're just relying on information on the internet as your source, you're going to have all kinds of garbage in there. How are you going to filter that out?
So did these companies make a mistake by assuming that generative AI was going to make search engines better, and that it should have never been applied to search? Or did they just, Google, Microsoft, all these other companies, they just saw these big dollar signs in their head by deploying something that was different?
It's too soon. I mean, it's an immature technology. That's the real problem. And if you look at search is not the worst thing. I mean, if they give you a stupid answer in search, like, put glue on your pizza, it's not going to really hurt you unless you do it, obviously.
Well, if they give
it's not toxic.
Yeah, I mean, if they give the link, it's more stupid than toxic.
Right.
That should be the theme of Google at this point.
But imagine if you're relying on Gen AI to tell you how fast you should be going down the highway, or what your meds should be this month, or something relevant to my health or my well-being or my activities. That's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
And we're not there yet. In very specific, narrow cases, AI does a really good job. If you're trying to get AI to be broad enough to do everything for everybody all the time, which is what Google is now trying to do,
right,
it's not there yet.
And I see this from Microsoft as well, where they're throwing everything at Copilot and claiming that Copilot can do everything and anything. But early reviews on that was this was not very useful or helpful.
Right. So we've got a long way to go before this is reliable. And I would not rely on any AI generated stuff at this point without checking it very, very closely.
Right, because if this was not an AI thing, but somehow the search engine algorithm had thrown up this thing about glue on pizza, it would have given you the link to the Reddit article, and most humans would go, oh, this guy's joking, or this post is joking. Same thing, like if it brought up the Onion article, most humans recognize that the Onion is a parody site. I say most. I didn't say all. But when the AI starts doing things like not including the links in the sources, that can get real problematic. So and Google has this problem with search as well. There was that other story that came out about there was a leak of how exactly Google would rank its websites. This leak apparently shows thousands of pages of internal documents appearing to offer an unprecedented look at under the hood of how search works. It suggests that Google has not been entirely truthful about it for years. So far, Google has not responded to multiple requests for comment on the legitimacy of the documents, but there was a guy, his name is Rand Fishkin, who worked in SEO for more than a decade, says a source shared 2,500 pages of documents with him with the hopes that reporting on the leak would counter the quote-unquote lies that Google employees had shared about how the search algorithm works. There's a whole world of people and SEO experts that claim to know how it works, but I think most people in the industry know that nobody really knows except for Google. And so was this a big deal or not? I'm not in that SEO bubble. There are certain people that really love SEO kind of things. And again, how can you tell if someone's really into SEO they'll tell you about it. So that's the old joke. Yeah.
I don't take this as a big deal. First of all, Google as a company is there to make money. So their algorithms are going to be proprietary. They're not going to tell you what their algorithms look like for a variety of reasons. One, they don't want SEO optimization because then it's gamesmanship. You're playing a game,
and then you start getting junk content at the top of the list.
Right.
Well, other than the sponsored ones, after you get through the sponsored ones.
Right. Well, if you pay Google, it's a whole different ballgame, right? If you're
then
paying
you can put as much junk as you want up top.
Exactly. And they typically change the algorithms, or I shouldn't say change them, but fine tune them periodically to get rid of some of this SEO stuff that people think they know. So I don't really see this as all that big of a deal. Are they lying to us? Yeah, I don't think it's lying. I think they're omitting details, which is what they should be doing as a company, because this is proprietary information for them and how they run their company. So I see this less of an issue. Any big company, Google, Microsoft, pick your favorite one, right? Amazon. People are gonna throw stones at them no matter what they do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're doing what they need to do to keep their business going.
Between these two stories, do you think Google can fix all this, or is it just a blip on the screen? We're all going to get used to it. Google will make this stuff better, and search really won't change. You'll still get the AI overviews at the top, but we're just gonna, as users, we're just gonna have to adjust to the way that we perform search in this new AI world, or so that Google can still make money and make all of their investors happy, but at the same time we can get relevant, truthful information, I guess is my question. Yeah. Or is this a big deal that another company could come in and go, hey, we've got a better option?
So first of all, I think everything will get better over time.
Okay.
As it always does. So we're very early on. A year from now, we may not be having this discussion, or 2 years from now. In the interim, take everything with a grain of salt, And I think Google will figure out a lot of this stuff. They've got the resources, they've got the wherewithal, they certainly got the money to be able to do that. Will this be an opportunity for other companies? Sure. But it's going to be really, really hard to displace Google long term.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
They've just got too much market share.
A couple of weeks ago, we were talking about this with another guest on our show, and that was when they announced all this stuff in the publishing world. The people that are creating content, whether it's a media site or if you have a blog or things like that, people that are creating content are really annoyed because for decades, you would have to play this game of making sure your content was SEO optimized. It was people built careers out of this. It was like, make sure the keywords is in the headline, make sure you've got interesting content, blah, 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 but also make sure keywords are here. And you would, as a content producer, whenever I'd write an article, you would still have to throw in all this phony baloney stuff to try to make sure that Google found you or hit you. And then that would change every 6 months anyway. Then you get another email saying, okay, now you have to make headlines, more human-like or clickbaity type headlines, and it drives most of us in the content space or the media space crazy because we have to play this game that Google is doing. So the big discussion of a couple of weeks ago was maybe we should stop playing with it's like when you're on the kickball field and the guy who owns the ball, the kid who owns the ball decides, well, I'm going to change the rules, and now you only get one strike instead of three or something like that. Like, why don't we just try to play with someone else or reach our audience through other methods? I think that's my take, but then that's why I'm also not the president of the company. I just have a podcast.
No, look, the bottom line is, for a lot of folks, it's a volume game. And the reason you SEO optimize is because you want to get the maximum hits on Google, because that's how you make money. Mm-hmm. If you're in the business of giving people information, if you're in the business of being an analyst like I am, or a real journalist like you are.
Oh, thanks.
Well, but then the issue is, do I write something that's relative, reasonable, actionable, correct? Or do I write something that has headlines? I could say, hey, Keith Shaw just got caught in the bathroom.
Watch what you say there.
Whatever. But those are the kinds of headlines that immediately get, a million views.
Right, but it's usually then it's fake traffic then, or it's meaningless traffic.
Exactly.
I would hope that the content that we produce on this show is at least interesting and intelligent enough to inform an audience. That's my goal, at least. Whether or not sometimes we succeed, sometimes we don't.
And that's what it should be. And so that's the difference between those folks who get paid per click,
right,
and those folks who get paid for content.
Right. Right. But again, because we're also a podcast that lives on YouTube, and YouTube is owned by Google. So, so you have to play with them in terms of the search content, but then you also have to play with them for any of your YouTube and the algorithm that is used there. Maybe if someone split up Google and said YouTube, you have to split off YouTube and then work with a different, I don't know. Again,
they're trying to do that, actually. Some people are trying to do that.
Yeah. Well, maybe then we'll talk about that when that happens. So the next topic I want to bring up is you were talking about a lot of the AI. We were talking about a lot of the AI stuff, and it turns out there was a BBC article this week that suggested that very few people are regularly using much hyped artificial intelligence products like ChatGPT. This was in Britain. A surveyor, they surveyed 12,000 people in 6 different countries, including the UK, with only 2% of British respondents saying that they use such tools on a daily basis. The study was from the Reuters Institute and Oxford University, says young people are bucking the trend, with 18 to 24-year-olds the most eager adopters of the tech, which is not really a surprise. Usually younger people adopt tech faster than older people do. Dr. Richard Fletcher, the report's lead author, told the BBC there was a mismatch between the hype around AI and the public interest in it. The study examined views on generative AI tools, which can respond to simple text prompts with human-sounding answers, as well as images, audio, and video. So this is a quote: large parts of the public are not particularly interested in generative AI, and 30% of people in the UK say they have not heard of any of the most prominent products, including ChatGPT. I would agree with this, because I try to discuss AI with my kids, and it goes right over their heads, or they try the tools for a little bit, and they might make some funny images, but they're not truly invested in doing this. I have some friends in the tech space that do use ChatGPT on a regular basis, but they use it for doing some stuff with D&D or gaming and things like that. And again, I have that ChatGPT subscription, and I forget to use it on a regular daily basis. I only was like, let me see if I can make a funny image, or see how the image generation is doing. But all of this stuff that's been integrated into these other packages on the business side have not flown down to me yet. I don't think our company has invested any of those tools, but also I'm on a Mac too. So maybe in a month after Apple announces that maybe they're upgrading their AI into this ecosystem, then I'll start seeing it. How much do you use it, Jack, from an analyst perspective in the tech industry, or on a personal basis? Do you agree with this, that you don't think a lot of people are getting this?
Yeah, I agree. And frankly, I don't use it a lot for a couple of reasons. Number one is, I know a lot of people, I know several analysts who use it to help them write their material, write their reports. To me, I think it's cheating.
Right.
But that's me. Not everyone agrees. So that's fine. Do whatever you want. But, I want the words to come from me, not from ChatGPT.
Right.
So that's number one. Number two is, it's not all that right now, all that beneficial for me. I can do if I need to find something on, I don't know, an Intel CPU or the NVIDIA's latest chip, I can go in Google search, type it in a line, and in 3 seconds, I'll get, pages worth of referrals.
Right.
If I ask ChatGPT, they're going to come back and give me, 3 or 4 paragraphs, a synopsis of what I would read otherwise. But that doesn't give me all the information. That's just a synopsis. That's the Reader's Digest version. That's not the real version.
I think I did that the other day with a PDF that someone had sent me. They sent me like a 30-page PDF, and this was for research for an upcoming show that we're doing. And I said, I'll upload the PDF to ChatGPT, and then I'll ask it to give me a summary. And I did, and it gave me the summary, and I looked and I read the summary, and I'm like, it just doesn't feel like I'm getting enough information out of that. So then I went and reread the entire PDF. So it didn't really help me at all. And the same thing where I see commercials, there's like, hey, give me an update on all my emails or things like that. It's sometimes, you get nuance and subtext in an email that you don't get from a summary. Yeah. And you certainly didn't get that from a PDF. Yeah. Chris, are you using this at all? I mean, I mean, some tools, right? You play with them.
I mainly use ChatGPT. Like if I'm writing a long email or something like that, I'll use it just to improve my writing. But that's about it. Like to fix spelling mistakes or, make this sound a little better or
make it sound more professional. Make it sound.
Sound. I am not a writer. I can't write for my life. So, but that's it.
Right. And yeah, I mean, and some of the summaries that I've seen, they just seem vanilla and plain and not very interesting. I would rather see an email, I would rather see writing that was interesting rather than generic. And I think that's what we get with a lot of these.
Even if I do use it to say, hey, can you check my spelling or can you, fix the grammar on this or whatever, sometimes I end up using my own because it almost comes off too robotic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, if I send the ChatGPT person, this person's not going to believe I wrote this. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not me. It's something.
There is another dynamic that goes on with this, with all this stuff. It's not just ChatGPT, but tech in general. And that is, if you use something once or twice, excuse me, or 3 or 4 times, and you don't like the results, you don't use it again.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing that phenomena as well. People are using this stuff and saying, gee, it's Chris's issue. Gee, I don't like what this just came out. If I'm going to rewrite it anyway, why do I have to bother to even, go to these guys, go to ChatGPT and have them help me if they're really not helping me? It's really about the value. Are you getting value out of it other than it's fun to play with?
Yeah. And to me, a lot of it is still in that magic trick scenario where if I'm trying to promote, an image generator, I go, look how fast it does something. Or, I type in like, show me a picture of a dog wearing a hat and it goes boom. And it gives you a dog wearing a hat. And then it's a really good image and correct, except, for the most part. I think that's what everyone gets excited about. And then they forget to think about, well, how am I going to use this in my day-to-day life or in my job? And they haven't connected between the magic of how fast and how cool it is into something that can be practical and useful. And I know that there are a lot of companies that are working on it. We have our other show that we do here is the demo show. And, probably 80% of the companies that are coming in to show us these new products have integrated artificial intelligence into their existing products or they're creating new products. And they have highly specific scenarios. Like you said, for specific scenarios, AI can be great. And that's what they're doing with a lot of companies. But those doesn't make the headlines. It's that generic, or it's the, hey, look at this goofy image that Google thought was a Nazi soldier and he was African American. And it's like, it's the hallucinations that make the headlines, not necessarily the correct versions or the correct images. Someone else told me that they were hoping that I was on a pre-call, and he said the best thing about AI is that you're going to get rid of all of those generic stock images that companies use over and over and over again, from like Shutterstock and all of those places. You're just like, I need a doctor, and then it spits out the same image that you've seen on countless of other websites. So at least the generic images that people are using on blog posts and things like that might be more specific now. Although I still think we're going to get dozens of cloud images at some point to try to describe cloud computing.
Yep. Yeah. If you've got a very targeted use for AI, it is extremely useful.
Yeah.
Power management. There are companies in the cloud, in telco, that use AI for power management of cell sites, for instance, and They can reduce power by 20-30%, which is significant both from the the perspective of sustainability, but also from cost perspective. I'm paying for that power. Right.
But that AI is probably machine learning and deep learning technologies that were probably developed before generative AI, right? I guess we have to specify between generative AI, where you type in something and it gives you a response, versus something that was dedicatedly that's a horrible word. It was programmed intentionally with an algorithm to solve that specific problem. And you know, maybe we need to do a better job in explaining what we mean by AI. Certainly, I'm trying to add Gen AI when I can.
Yeah, that's one of the fundamental problems, right? AI is not one thing.
Right.
Gen AI is something, but there's machine learning for video. There's machine learning for audio, or AI for audio. There's the power management issue. There is AI tool. There are AI tools now being used for detecting malware. To keep us safe.
But also AI being used to try to trick us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I guess that's why we talk about AI so much on the show, because there's so many different facets of where it can be used for good and for bad. And then all I'm trying to do is inform the audience to know what the trends are and what's coming and what's good and what's bad.
Sure.
So I hope that more people will try AI tools, understand whether it can be useful for them or not, and again, try to weed through the hype of what you're seeing from companies, and try some tools that might work for you, because that would be better in the long run if it does help you.
I agree, but have a goal in mind, right? Don't just try AI because it's AI.
Right.
Have a goal for why you want to try AI. It's going to be better writing, as for Chris.
Right.
It's going to be for you. You're going to be able to do a summary of a 30-page PDF. Hopefully, it's a good summary, but summary save you all kinds of time. For me, it might be helping with research. Whatever it happens to be. If you've got a goal, then you can evaluate whether AI is helping you or not.
Yeah.
If you're just using AI because it's AI, then so what?
And I can tell that the tech industry hasn't figured this out on their own yet either. We were watching a basketball playoff game. It was probably the Celtics, but an ad came up for a company called ServiceNow, and I'm not picking on them specifically. I'm picking on their ad agency. So ServiceNow, I think that they do it's IT infrastructure management and tickets and things like that. That's as far as I can. I know that they do more than that, but so they did a commercial, again, playing in the Celtics game. So how many of these people are going to know? And it was like we've now enabled AI in our to make everybody more efficient and productive and blah blah blah. They were just using like generic terms and like not telling you what the company did. They're just assuming that the viewer might know who it is. So I looked over at my son and I go, "Do you understand any of this commercial?" And he just shakes his head. He's like, "No." He goes, "So he doesn't know what ServiceNow is. He doesn't know." It's not like they're actually showing you anything that's interesting. When they try to appeal to a consumer audience, the only thing I see are these Google phone ads where people are just erasing things from the background of an image, or they're doing the whole photo correcting, and which a lot of those tools already existed there were a lot of apps out there that would let you do that. My kids were on them all the time, adjusting their images and the photos they take. So again, you're not showing a consumer something that's really cool that could be used in everyday life. I think I saw a Photoshop ad where someone makes a poster with a kid on a unicorn, and it's like, well, that's a birthday party invitation. I was like, okay, great. So I'm hoping that at some point things will get better, but at the moment the consumers are not using AI. So
well, look, let's be realistic. Anytime anybody puts AI in an ad, okay, if you're a company today and you don't have AI in your marketing, you're not a company anymore, right? You're going to go out of business. That's just the way life is today. ServiceNow, I mean, they've had databases. They help with help desks. Their job really is to manage the infrastructure within your company.
Right.
They've had databases of what to do. If I call the help desk and say, I don't know, my Wi-Fi isn't working, they go through a checklist. They've had AI programs. They didn't call them AI programs, but they've had assistance programs forever.
Right.
Now that they're calling it AI. Okay.
And chatbots and things like that, right?
Yeah. So that stuff isn't new. They just relabeled it.
Yeah, and it's probably one of those things where they're like, we just need to raise awareness of our company, and like you said, we have to inform the world that we have AI and we're a cool company and whatever. But it didn't hit me very interesting as an ad. All right, I want to switch gears a little bit. Apple is going to be coming out with their WWDC event is on June 10th, and so there's been this speculation about what they're gonna add, including AI. I'm not going to skip on this, but also this week they announced new research around, and is it tinnitus, or how do you pronounce that? Tinnitus. So they're basically diving into hearing health. And of course, I think they're doing research based on, long-term effect of these AirPods that they have. Right. So they announced preliminary insights on tinnitus from its ongoing hearing health study, adding evidence to the fact that tinnitus is a widespread and sometimes disruptive condition stemming from an often persistent noise or ringing that only the person experiencing can hear. The new report found that 15% of people surveyed experienced tinnitus daily. 10% say that their tinnitus has moderately or entirely interfered with their ability to hear clearly. Most participants, almost 78%, have experienced it in their life, and older adults are more likely to report experiencing it. So there wasn't a lot that was new here, but what was interesting to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, Jack, is that do you think that Apple is doing this research because they probably understand that maybe wearing earpods or AirPods in your ears all day long might contribute to hearing loss at some point, and maybe they're trying to cover themselves? And I brought, go ahead.
They're studying a disease that they're created. They're not created, but they didn't create the disease, but they're causing the problem, right?
Or exacerbating it or increasing the entire problem.
For sure. And it's not just them.
So am I crazy, or is this a tinfoil hat conspiracy type thing?
Yeah, no. Tinnitus is a very serious problem. And actually, my daughter's had it for years. It had nothing to do with wearing AirPods or headphones or any of that. It's just a disease that some people get. But a big cause of it, especially in older people, is loud noises. Persistent, consistent loud noises. And, I don't know how many times I've walked down the street with people have, whether it's Apple AirPods or whoever's, AirPods they have or headphones on, where they've got them in their ear and I can actually hear the music.
Yeah, that's a problem, right?
Absolutely a problem, because it's way, way too loud. It's in the old days, my day, way, way, way back when, right? It was musicians, right? Because they had the electric guitars. They'd stand in front of the speakers. Yep. The speakers would be, 350 decibels. And then, and in 3 or 4 years, they'd all be deaf and they couldn't figure out why. Yeah. Well, it's because of the loud noises.
Right. Yeah. The loudest show I was ever at, I went to a Ramones show, and it was in a bar, and I ended up standing right behind one of the speakers. And after the show, I couldn't hear for 3 days. There was that's the way it was. And now whenever I go to a concert, I feel so old, but I put earbuds in now for all of the different concerts, either if I'm working as a volunteer for this place I work at, or if I'm attending, I'm sorry, I'm going to be the goofy old guy with earbuds in. And we gave them to our kids all the time too. I don't think I could give them to them now.
It's not that goofy today. I went to a concert a couple of years ago, I think, with my dad and my brother, and we all wore earbuds. All right. Just because you don't,
So there's not a stigma attached with putting those things.
I don't think so. No.
Earplugs? Is that what they call them? Earplugs still?
Yeah,
Keith. Yeah,
the foam
plugs.
Well, they're not foam. Yeah, but I think those have changed a little bit too.
Well, they even have fancier ones now that are made out of like silicone and other materials that do a better job than the cheap foam ones.
I even wear the ear muffs, the full ear muffs when I'm doing the lawn or when I'm snow blowing, or leaf blowing or whatever. It's a very bad habit to be in if you're not wearing ear protection when you've got all those kinds of noises around you.
Right. But obviously, if they start discovering that more younger and younger people are starting to develop these hearing issues, then could some enterprising lawyer at some point go, Apple, I want all this money because you were encouraging people to wear these things in their ears for years and years, and it becomes like a smoking type of lawsuit.
Yeah, it's like the cigarette companies.
Right.
For sure.
Does this study then help cover them? Or is it just Apple trying to be altruistic and going, oh, we do care about your health?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm sure it's the latter, not the former. No, look, I guarantee you're going to see lawsuits in the future. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
And Apple is trying to figure out whether, where the boundaries are. There's a couple of other things that are going on here, right? If you do this study correctly, you want to find out how much noise over what extended period of time actually causes a disease.
Yeah.
If it's, I'm making up numbers here, if it's 100 decibels for 1 hour or it's 50 decibels for 100 hours, that's valuable information because then you can tone it down, right? You can turn down. I've had apps on my phone that said, hey, you're turning up the volume too loud on your headphones. Turn it down.
Right.
And so that's an attempt to at least placate some of the damage that's possible. But I guarantee you, and you see it all the time, we all see it all the time, these people walking around with these headsets that you can hear, music 20 feet away, they're going to be deaf in 10 years.
Well, when our kids were younger, we would buy them headphones, but these were I don't want to say noise canceling, but they were
over the ear
headphones that produced less sound so that it wouldn't be loud. And they couldn't, the max volume was still low enough so that it wouldn't damage their ears, because we recognized as parents that we don't want to start them off on this path. Now, I can't do anything about it now. They're all teenagers and they don't listen to us anymore anyway. But I'm hoping that they watch this show and realize turn down your volume on these things, especially since they're in that generation that's all they wear. They don't wear ones like this. They don't. I think one of my kids does still like the old school over the ear headphones, but for the most part, they've got the earbuds in all the time.
Yeah, earbuds don't stay in my ears, so I'm lucky. I have to wear the cans.
There you go. All right, there's one other story I want to talk about in this hearing headphone space. This was a cool little story. Noise canceling headphones have gotten very good at creating an auditory blank slate, but allowing certain sounds from a wearer's environment through the erasure still challenges researchers. And so a University of Washington team has developed an artificial intelligence system that lets a user wearing headphones look at a person speaking for 3 to 5 seconds to enroll them into the system. And then basically it will cancel all other sounds in the environment and play just the enrolled speaker's voice in real time, even as the listener moves around in noisy places and no longer faces the speaker. So it's almost like you can have a targeted microphone speech with someone, and if they walk around a room and it's noisy, it'll still cancel out all that noise. And so what's weird about this story was the first thing I thought about, being a paranoid person with security background, is does this mean that I'm going to have a headphone at some point that will be able to let me spy on a person? If we're at a party, I could just look at them across the hall, enroll them, and then hear what they're saying.
It already exists.
I know. And then that's the second thought that I had, is that spy technology probably already exists out there. It just hasn't been integrated into a commercial
Well, that type
headphone.
of microphone already exists.
Yeah.
But
they haven't put them into headphones yet, right?
Yeah.
No, but.
So we're bringing spook gear down to the consumer.
Right. But then I also started wondering, what is wrong with me that's the first thing I think of, rather than this could be beneficial to a lot of people that have a hearing loss. Why am I not thinking about
Because you watch too many James Bond movies.
I read too many stories about hackers and cybersecurity and all the bad things that are going on with tech. So anyway, if you can look at our show notes and watch the video and read this article, because it is a cool technology, especially if you have someone where you need to hear someone in a noisy environment, and it really will help. I'm getting to the point where I think I'm about to lose my hearing, or my hearing slowly goes down. My wife will walk into a room and I've got the TV on, and she's like, "This TV is super loud. Why do you have it?" And I'm like, "It doesn't sound loud to me." So I know that it's coming. So
like any tech, right, that we've talked about forever, good and bad.
Right.
The good news is that is very. You're right. That's very useful. What if you're partially deaf, and you're in a crowd and you want to have a conversation with someone, and you can't because you can't hear them.
Right.
You're in a bar, you're at a party, you're at work, right? So there are some real advantages to this kind of technology for the hearing impaired. I think it's actually great technology. Now, that said, you're right. You can use it for bad things too. You can spy on people or whatever. But but the good always, or the bad always comes with the good. So
Yeah.
we need to look at the good side for how this is going to help people.
All right. So it really has to be me that I'm working on here. All right, one final story that I want to talk about, and this might take us a little bit of time too to kind of get through, but the Wall Street Journal had a really good article this week talking about the loneliness of the American worker. And there is a technology angle to all of this. So more Americans are profoundly lonely. The way they work, more digitally linked but less personally connected, is deepening that sense of isolation. So they give an anecdote because this is the Wall Street Journal. So Nick Scarta, a 29 years old, works 2 jobs in logistics and office administration in San Diego to keep up with his bills. After a couple of years at the logistics jobs, he has one friend there. He says hi to coworkers at his office job, but doesn't really know any. Quote, I feel sort of an emptiness or lack of belonging, he says. Juggling 2 jobs leaves him exhausted with little energy or time to grab drinks with coworker. It makes it harder to go in and give it your all if you don't feel like anyone is there rooting for you. Now that's just one example, but the other examples in the story are suggesting that even with remote work and hybrid work, there's a sense at many companies and offices that people are just there and they're not communicating with people. Even if they're on Zoom calls all day, there's not a sense of coworker camaraderie. I don't want to use the word friendship.
Well, it's social interaction.
It's social interaction. Yeah.
I was going to say, this sounds like me. They're talking about me, Keith.
They basically are talking about you, Chris, because you and I are in an office. We're in here 3 days a week, generally. For the most part, it's basically the 2 of us. Sometimes we see 2 or 3 other coworkers. But because most of the company is hybrid and remote, you don't, you might see people on Zoom calls, but as we've covered on this show and other episodes, Zoom calls are completely different from being face to face. Jack, I know we have this great relationship with you via Zoom, but I'm a lot happier when I see you in person.
Yeah. Well, look, humans are social animals, right?
Yes.
We are used to being in groups, and electronic groups are not the same thing. You're right. I can't see you. I can't see you, feel you, smell you, whatever, right? It's a completely different environment, at least for now, and maybe we'll get smell-o-vision at some point. But it really does have an effect on us, because at the end of the day, look, we're on the Zoom call. We're gonna be together for an hour. We're gonna have great interaction, and then when we shut it down, we're done.
Yeah.
If we were in an office, we'd say, "Boy, Chris, boy, Keith, that was a great event. Let's go ahead and grab lunch."
Right. And then
I'll buy you a cup of coffee.
And we don't have to necessarily talk about the show itself or any of the topics or things like that, but just,
how are your kids?
Yeah.
What are you doing over the weekend?
Shoot the breeze, basically.
Yeah.
And I think that's gone away from a lot of companies. You don't have those interactions anymore. Whether and again, it probably has nothing to do with productivity, but at least as a human, I feel better having those types of conversations
But it does
in
have
between
a
the
lot
work.
to do with productivity. And I'll tell you why. Because if I get to know you better, right, and we have a relationship, call it friends, call it acquaintances, call it whatever you want, I'm probably, for the most part, going to want to help you succeed. I'm going to want to make sure that you get your job done, and you're going to probably want to do the same for me. So if there's an issue, if there's a problem, we're a team, we're working together. On a Zoom call, when Zoom is done, we're done, right? I don't know what you're doing this afternoon. You don't know what I'm doing this afternoon. We're not working together. We're not in the office next to each other. We're not helping each other out.
Right.
And so it's just a different interaction, and it's not just about loneliness. It is about productivity as well.
Well, I want to bring up so again, the loneliness part is is again another aspect of the story that we haven't talked about, which is, the Surgeon General, I think, just said loneliness is a health risk, because
it leads to depression.
Leads to depression and sadness, and that can lead to a lot of other problems.
Yeah.
Right.
And so an example in this story was that I found interesting. So this was the company 1-800-Flowers.com. They have 5,000 hybrid and fully on-site employees. The most popular community chat group offered by a company mental health provider is simply called Loneliness. It was like, wow, like it's just obviously that people are, even though and again, the stats also show more than 40% of fully remote workers in a 2023 survey of working parents said they go days without leaving the house. Yep. That's a problem. Those who work in office spend nearly a quarter of their time in virtual meetings, while face-to-face meetings account for only 8% of their time. Another survey, Americans have tripled the time spent in meetings since 2020, but leaving less time for casual interactions that social scientists say foster happiness at work. At least when I was in an office and working on a regular basis, 5 days a week, you would have meetings, but you would only have one or two.
Yeah.
Maybe during a day. Now that we're in this virtual world with Zoom and all this other stuff, like I know people that have 5 or 6 straight meetings, one after the other, and that's all they do.
It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to click on a link and turn on your webcam than to actually get up, meet in a office.
Right.
Have everybody sit around a table.
I used to be able to get up and go walk around and just kind of say hi to everybody in the office, and I knew what they were, what department they were in, have this nice little conversation. I wasn't going to be their friend, and I wasn't going to socialize with them a lot, but at least I knew who they were. I walk around here now, and it's just, I don't know anybody.
It's very dystopian. I know a lot. No, really.
A lot of people,
we kind of know that, we're over the pandemic, right? Well, it kind of still feels like we're in this crisis, you know what I mean?
Well,
it's just the way things are.
And doesn't that also then affect how you interact with people when you do go out of the house? I think there's a correlation here.
I forget how to talk sometimes. I
go to the store. If I go to the store or a mall or something, I get annoyed by people that are around me. And I think it's because I do a lot of this remote stuff.
I get nervous. My anxiety kicks up again. Like whenever I'm out in public now, because if you're not meeting regularly in person with other people, you kind of lose that ability to socialize and to interact with people, right?
Part of the problem, or part of the issue with loneliness, is isolation.
Yeah,
if you feel isolated, you feel lonely.
Yeah,
and it's more about, if everything's done electronically, if you're sitting at a desk, I'm sitting at my desk all day. I'm not getting out for 3 days. I fill my gas tank once every 3 or 4 weeks now, because I'm not, I go to the store, and where else am I going unless I'm going to the airport or something. It's an isolationist feeling, and that's what makes people feel lonely, because you're not interacting with people. When you're in the office, I'd get off a call. Yeah, I'd have meetings. I'd get off a call. I'd walk out and talk to my admin, or talk to the guy in the office next door, or the gal in the office next door. Just 3 minutes, 5 minutes to chat, and they were doing the same thing, just to kind of break the monotony and get our head straight. You don't do that anymore when it's Zoom.
I used to think that a lot of those company sponsored events, whether it's Ice Cream Social Day, or we used to have this thing called Fun Day Fridays, or Fantastic Fridays. They had this thing, and they would just break out some soda and beer and pizza at the end of the Friday.
That was at the Framingham office, right? No, I remember that.
Yeah. And it was great because you could just talk. You didn't. And it was like a Friday afternoon. Now all we do is so. And again, I'm not picking on this company, because I love this company and I want to keep working here. I love this show. But what they do now is they just said, well, for the summertime Fridays, we get off a little bit early, and that's not helping the people that are going to be working at home all the time, because now you've got 2 hours you don't have to work, and you're just going to sit in the house, or I guess you'll do errands and other things. But
I guess my question is like, if this is being, if this is an issue, or kind of like a new crisis, right? Like, what do we do? Because people are divided these days. There's people who just want to work from home because, we've proven we can work from home. And then there's the other people who are like, hey, maybe we should go in 2 to 3 times a week. Like, what do you do? If you're a company, or,
I know, but it's also not the company's responsibility to make sure their employees are happy, is it? Is that
well, if it affects your performance, if it affects your performance,
true,
right? Like, what do you do?
Absolutely. If you have unhappy employees, you don't have productive employees, and your productivity goes down, your sales go down, your revenues go down.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do everything for everyone, obviously.
Well, it feels like that their blanket statement of, well, everybody has to come back to work, and that's not going to work for some people.
Right.
I think they have to address this on an individual basis.
Because now you have a chunk of your workforce that possibly might have moved away from the location of your office building. So it's like,
I would hope that managers could understand that if you do have someone who's fully remote, you have to find ways to engage them so that they're not lonely. There were comments in that Wall Street Journal article, right? And one of them equated it to doing like a health check-in for an elderly shut-in.
Let me find that. Yeah. I can find that comment.
Like that's the level of loneliness that we're talking about with a lot of people.
My wife told me that I naturally need to go out and make friends, because the friends that I had here in the building, we don't.
But those were coworker friends too. There's something. There is something to be said about real friends that are not your coworkers.
Well, coworker friends can become real friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're an adult and if you work 5 days a week, most of your time was spent working during the day.
Right.
So the majority of your time were spent with these friend coworkers, right? So take that away. I'm friends with my computer screen. Like, that's it. That's it.
Jack, I hope you're socializing more than you were indicating.
Yeah, I know I am. But the idea for a lot of people from working from home is, you're working 8 hours a day. If you've got a family, it's great. You got family time and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But if you're, a 20-something, you're not married.
That's what I'm concerned. Yeah, I'm concerned about a lot of the younger workers that are entering the workforce. They're not getting the same experience that we got at work, which helped develop us professionally and socially.
How do you create relationships? Working relationships. How do you do that with Zoom?
Early in the pandemic, remember those people that were trying to do those like virtual parties? Did you hear about those? Or we would have like a virtual pizza party and everyone was like, okay, grab a drink. We're not paying for it, but grab your own drink and we're going to sit here and talk. And you can't talk in a Zoom meeting with other people. Right. It's not like a real cocktail party or a real event. Right. Because again, at a real event, you can go find people that you know and have a good conversation with them. But with Zoom, it's like everybody's listening to you at the same time. And then it's a presentation. And then you're basically on stage at that point.
Right. And you can't really talk anyway because there's 40 people on the screen and, you and I can't sit there over in a corner and talk about the Celtics, right? Everyone's talking about something. Right. And you got to wait your turn. It's just not the same dynamic.
Yeah. So there was one other story that was related to this, and this was an NBC News story saying that basically the lunch rush is dead as Americans are now spending more money on the weekend. So this was tied into the fact that because you don't have as many people in the office that bars and restaurants and other places where you would go to socialize during the lunch hour, that's all gone. And people are just, if they come in, plus the fact that a lot of these restaurants, the price to get a lunch is a lot higher than it used to be. And so there's another aspect to the story of the way that the work culture is changing.
I just saw an article today where they were talking about Big Mac soon to be $18.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what they said. I wouldn't know. I don't go, but especially at $18. But
is this California? It's probably California.
Probably. Well,
hey, I had
making $20 an hour.
I had a $15 salad today that was supposed to be freshly made, but it was actually just pulled off the shelf. So those wilted romaine lettuce leaves were great. For $15.
Chris, it was freshly made at one point. It just wasn't didn't happen to be freshly made when you bought it.
$15. Wow.
First world problems, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone would comment on that. Like, why are you guys talking about your lunch?
I know. We're complaining.
I used to be a lunch pail guy. I'd make my peanut butter sandwich and ahead of time and bring it in a brown bag. And that was good enough for me back then.
Oh, not a bucket?
No. Now I make a salad and I put it in a nice little plastic bin and then I build my salad right there at the lunch table. And I put it in a plastic bag because there's fewer and fewer of those left because the grocery stores ban those bags. Wow. Right. Life in 2024. Jack, thank you so much for filling in this week. We're going to see you next month. You're filling in for one other week, and then we're going to give you a 4-week stint at some point. I just haven't decided completely yet. I got to check your schedule.
Sounds good.
And
sounds good.
Hopefully, by the time on June 27th, we can talk about the Celtics victory. Hopefully.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Jack.
Thank you, guys. Great talking with you as always. Take care.
All right. That's all the time we have for today's episode. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, add any thoughts you have below. Join us every week for new episodes of Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. Thanks for watching.